Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to thank the UAE for being such wonderful hosts to this COP. In preparing for this COP, I asked the youth members of our delegation, the future leaders from the Netherlands, what they expected me to bring home from Dubai. And their answer was clear. They expect us, today's leaders, to deliver on the commitments already made and to step up our efforts on phasing out fossil fuels so we can get on track to reach our 1.5 degree target. I consider that to be our common task over the next 2 weeks. As you may know, the Kingdom of the Netherlands consists of a low-lying delta country in Europe and 6 islands in the Caribbean. So we know what it is like to be vulnerable to climate change and how urgent it is that we take action. As the global stocktake shows, we need to step up our efforts on all pillars of the Paris Agreement, on mitigation, on adaptation and on climate finance. On climate finance, it's crucial that all parties support the recommendations made by the Transitional Committee on Loss and Damage. All the warning lights are flashing. Yet red after yet another year of extreme climate extremes. So it's good that we set up a fund and help the most vulnerable countries. The Netherlands will provide 50 million euros to the startup costs of this fund. On adaptation, it is imperative that we all agree here in Dubai on a specific goal. And a key part of every adaptation strategy must be far better management of flooding, drought and water pollution. And on mitigation too, we urgently need to scale up our efforts. In my country, the 2030 goal of a 55% reduction in emissions now seems to be within reach for the first time. I won't deny that it is a painstaking process, but the good news is it can be done. In the Netherlands, we are committed to accelerate our efforts. We are investing in large-scale renewable energy with a special focus on green hydrogen both in the Netherlands and abroad. By 2030, we want to provide 100 million people in Africa with access to clean energy. But millions of people need to become billions of people. So I urge all of you here to step up your efforts as well in support of the proposed goal of tripling renewable energy by 2030. Esteemed colleagues, the young people of the world are calling upon us to deliver on our promises, to step up our ambitions, and to work together in embracing our collective responsibility. Let us work tirelessly to secure their future. Thank you.
I thank you, Your Excellency, for your statement. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Pedro Sánchez Pérez Castellón, the President of the Government of Spain. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Excelencias, la COP de Dubái debe ser la oportunidad en estos próximos años. Esta debe ser, sin duda, y es el firme deseo de España. No soy un iluso, la emergencia climática está causando estragos y estamos lejos de cumplir los objetivos marcados en París, pero esta COP nos ofrece una oportunidad de adoptar una nueva agenda climática reforzada, justa y equitativa que venga marcada por el resultado del balance mundial en las 3 agendas climáticas. Por tanto, aprovechémosla. Primero, en financiación, porque necesitamos una nueva arquitectura que facilite el acceso a los fondos, que elimine las trabas, que identifique nuevas oportunidades. Debemos incluir los objetivos climáticos en el centro de las políticas económicas y fiscales, desarrollar los mercados de carbono robustos, atajar el problema de la deuda, aumentar el espacio fiscal para los países más vulnerables y también tenemos que trabajar en una nueva fiscalidad internacional que se rija por el principio de quien contamina paga y crear entornos propicios para fomentar inversiones, innovación y cooperación climática. Para apoyar a nuestros socios, además de los fondos que anunciamos en la Cumbre de Acción Climática de Nueva York, hoy quiero anunciar una nueva contribución de 20 millones de euros para el nuevo Fondo de Pérdidas y Daños, además de los 5 millones de euros que ya aprobamos para la puesta en marcha de la red Santiago. Y además es urgente parar la deforestación y, en concreto, evitar la degradación medioambiental de la Amazonía. Por eso, vamos a destinar este año 2 millones de euros al proyecto de bonos medioambientales sostenibles y socialmente responsables Amazonía Siempre, para apoyar a Brasil, a Colombia, a Ecuador y a Perú. En segundo lugar, en mitigación tenemos que mantenernos en el límite de seguridad del 1,5 grados centígrados, es decir, que el pico global de emisiones debe llegar al máximo en el año 2025 y estas deben caer con fuerza en el resto de la década. Y para ello son 3 las medidas imprescindibles que debemos aplicar simultáneamente. En primer lugar, triplicar la capacidad de generación de energía renovable de cara al año 2030, doblar los objetivos de eficiencia energética esta misma década y poner fin a la producción y al consumo de combustibles fósiles para la energía. Tenemos tecnologías para replantearnos las infraestructuras energéticas y cumplir con estos objetivos y, en ese sentido, mi país, España, ya ha aumentado su compromiso de reducción de emisiones de gases de efecto invernadero hasta un 56% y el objetivo de energía renovable en la generación eléctrica hasta un 81%, con la meta de cerrar el año 2025 como nuestra última central térmica de carbón en España. Y, por último, en adaptación y resiliencia necesitamos que el objetivo del Acuerdo de París sea operativo y medible. Tenemos que explorar vías para potenciar y también para adaptarnos más allá de nuestros planes nacionales. Por eso España apoya las iniciativas del Secretario General para tener sistemas de alerta temprana para todos y su acelerador de portafolio de proyectos de adaptación. Concluyo diciendo, Excelencias, que nuestros avances colectivos demuestran que todavía tenemos una oportunidad de salvar el planeta, pero tenemos que elevar nuestra ambición, nuestro compromiso y lograrlo creo que está al alcance de la humanidad. Nada más y muchas gracias.
I thank you, Your Excellency, for your statement. It is my pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Mette Frederiksen, the Prime Minister of Denmark. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, much is being said and written about the time we are currently living in, a time of conflict and competition, where new wars are testing us, while old conflicts continue to create despair for millions of civilians around the world, where global tensions are reaching new highs while inflation, poverty, food insecurity remain unsolved challenges. And in the middle of all this division, we are facing the biggest common challenge we have yet seen: climate change. Challenge that no country or continent can face alone. The easy thing would be to put off the difficult decisions, because it simply requires too much of us. That can, of course, never be the answer. Therefore, we need to take upon the responsibility, show what we are capable of, how we can turn things around if we choose to work together. And the developed countries and the biggest emitters have to do the most. No country in the world has the right to say, we are doing enough. That also goes for my own country. We all need to do more. At this COP, Denmark has 3 focus points. We are working for an agreement to phase out fossil fuels, global targets to triple renewable energy and double energy efficiency. And we need to do more for those countries that are hit the hardest by climate change. Access to financing, that has to be a key pillar on climate action. That is why we contribute to mobilize more than 1% of the $100 billion pledge. And that is why Denmark, of course, welcomes the Abu Dhabi Agreement on Loss and Damage. Now, allow me to share a few words on behalf of the Faroe Islands and Greenland. The Faroe Islands are a seafaring nation. We need to expand the efforts of energy transition in the maritime sector to include fishing vessels. Communities in Greenland experience some of the worst effects by climate change, even though they have contributed the least. In the Arctic, climate change is happening 4 times faster. And on behalf of the people of Greenland, including the Inuit people, let us act. Ladies and gentlemen, COP28 is our chance to act, to keep the 1.5-degree target alive, and to secure a livable planet for generations to come. We need to do more. Thank you.
I thank you, Your Excellency, for your statement. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
As we conclude the first global stocktake, we must be brutally honest. Although we've made great progress together, the world is just not moving fast enough. Climate science shows that we're off track, and climate politics is close to breaking point, because the gap between pledges and delivery is undermining credibility. While we make new commitments here, major emitters must dramatically accelerate delivery of what they've already promised. We all need to do more. And we must address the disconnect between lofty rhetoric on stages like this and the reality of people's lives around the world. And the way to do that is by delivering a truly just transition. Let me be clear, the United Kingdom is totally committed to net zero, the Paris Agreement, and to keeping 1.5 alive. That's why we've decarbonised faster than any other major economy. Our 2030 target means the deepest cuts of any major emitter, and we're determined to deliver. But instead of putting more pressure on working people, we're choosing a pragmatic new approach. We're ramping up renewables and embracing the opportunities of technology and green industry, because we've shown that you can cut emissions while growing the economy and creating jobs. Now, those facing the worst impacts of climate change are desperate for the world to do more. So we're also working to deliver a just transition globally. And that means more support for those most in need. The UK is already one of the largest global climate donors, and we're tripling our adaptation finance. I've announced a further £1.6 billion for the Green Climate Fund, the UK's biggest single international climate commitment. And today, we've gone further with an additional £1.6 billion of support for clean energy and innovation, and to deliver on the historic Glasgow Forest deal, because we can't get to net zero without nature. This also includes up to £60 million for loss and damage, £40 million of which is for the new fund. And to succeed, the fund must be open to all sources of support. And because the UK is a world-leading green finance centre, we're also helping to unlock trillions in private finance to meet this need and keep 1.5 degrees within reach. I believe we can deliver here in Dubai, but we've got to work together. The debate is too divided. Developed versus developing, ambition on mitigation versus finance for transition and adaptation. The truth is simple. We need both. In place of division, we need ambitious collective action, like we promised in Paris and Glasgow. That's how we'll get back on track, by bringing everyone with us. Because a truly just transition leaves absolutely no one behind. Thank you.
I thank you, Your Excellency, for your statement. Your Excellencies, dear delegates, the joint second meeting of COP28, CMP 18 and CMW 5 is now suspended.
would have been funny. You could stay. I just want you to stay with us forever. Okay, is everyone ready? Okay, let's do it. Come on, I'm excited to love it. Everyone except for the camera, let's just kind of get in a single file. And we can, once he lands, we can tuck in a little bit. Oh yeah, because then I forget. Vivian?
This is my third visit to the region since Hamas slaughtered men, women, and children on October 7th. During the first visit that I made, I came to show strong solidarity with Israel, defending itself, trying to make sure that October 7th never happens again, and also to stress the importance of humanitarian assistance, getting to people in need in Gaza. After that visit, the humanitarian assistance began to flow. During my second visit, I focused on how humanitarian pauses, could facilitate the release of hostages, enable more assistance to get into Gaza, and also help get innocent civilians out of harm's way. After that visit, we saw Israel institute clauses that enabled people to get out of harm's way. We were able to broker a deal with Qatar, with Egypt playing critical roles, for a 7-day pause. And as a result, some 100 hostages were able to get out, be reunited with their families. In addition, as I said, we've seen the humanitarian assistance during that period more than double, getting to people who need it so desperately in Gaza. During this visit, I was focused on a few things. Trying to see what we can do to keep getting hostages out of Gaza and out of the hands of Hamas. Looking at how we can both sustain and increase the humanitarian assistance that's getting to people in Gaza, and also talking about the way forward and Israel's efforts to make sure that Hamas never again has the ability to do what it did on October 7th. I made clear that after the pause, it was imperative that Israel put in place clear protections for civilians and for sustaining humanitarian assistance going forward. And as we've seen just today, Israel's already moved out on parts of that, including sending out information making it clear where people could be in safe areas in Gaza. And we'll be looking at that going forward. It's very, very important. It's also important to understand why the pause came to an end. It came to an end because of Hamas. Hamas reneged on commitments it made. In fact, even before the pause came to an end, it committed an atrocious terrorist attack in Jerusalem, killing 3 people, wounding others, including Americans. It began firing rockets before the pause had ended, and as I said, it reneged on commitments it made.